Elon Musk rocked the social media world Monday after finalizing a deal to buy Twitter for $44 billion.
Stockholders are looking at a big payday as Musk, one of the world's richest men, is set to take the tech giant private. Joining us with insight is Dr. David Gunkel. He's the professor of communications at Northern Illinois University. Hey, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, so Elon Musk, made it clear that it's about free speech. And of course, we live in America where freedom of speech is a right under the Constitution. So what has critics so outraged about that?
So we have to recognize that the First Amendment covers the government's control of speech, right? It's Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of expression. And the situation with Twitter or any social media platform is that these are private companies and they can do whatever they deem necessary or what they see as being important and can control or not control what happens on their platforms. So I think what has a lot of people both very excited but also very worried about Musk acquiring Twitter is that they're not sure what this free speech absolutist, which he's declared himself to be, is going to do with regards to any content moderation that occurs on the platform. And he's within his, right to institute or not institute anything that he sees as being necessary and important.
This guy defines go big or go home, sold PayPal for $1.5 billion. SpaceX, you could argue, saved NASA. I don't even need to get into Tesla. He says he's going to get rid of all the scam and spam bots. When he says that, I got to tell you, I believe him. What do you think?
So I think a lot of people found that part of his message to be very encouraging, because the proliferation of bot traffic on social media is one of the drivers of misinformation and disinformation, and getting rid of the bots may be one important way of controlling for this. We have yet to see what the actual plan will look like and how it'll be rolled out, but I think a lot of people who are paying attention are kind of taking a wait and see approach to this particular stipulation.
How much of an impact do you think this is going to have on the midterms?
It could have a rather substantial impact if indeed some of the content moderation is scaled back. We saw that Facebook played a very crucial role in the 2016 election. Twitter in 2020 was very tight-fisted with the way in which they addressed a lot of the misinformation having to do with the election. And if Musk would open up the capabilities for a wider range of content to be posted to the platform without content controls, this could have an effect on what happens in the midterms. Again, we don't know exactly what his practical implementation is going to look like, and we have, some time before that will actually be rolled out.
If there's an elephant in the room, it's the former president, because we all know that Trump was booted from Twitter. And we know that Elon Musk says this is going to be a bastion of free speech. So do you think it's pretty logical that Trump's going to get invited back? Whether or not he decides to join is a whole nother matter.
Yeah, so I think yesterday you heard the former president say that he had no interest in returning to Twitter, even if they opened up the content control and stopped blocking his availability to the platform. Whether that actually does happen, again, I think is something we need to see. It's undeniable. It is a very popular platform with 330 billion users worldwide. That is a wide reach, and any social media platform with that kind of user population is something that would be targeted by a potential political candidate.
Yeah, I think he would probably be missing out on reaching some of his audience well, obviously he is already, but it'll be interesting to see what happens, because he says that now, but what about when he gets closer to an election? Hey, thank you so much for coming on. Good conversation here this morning. David Gunkel, Dr. David Gunkel, don't want to take away the doctor from you, professor of communications at NIU. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Lots of